Hi, I'm AJ Titter, author of Magic and Myth, and this is the sixth video in my series where I'm reading from my free short story, Torched Feathers. I'll drop the link in the description for the first video along with my website where you can actually get the free ebook. Irmis and Fledgling followed the stars that night and a murmuration of starlings the next day. She knew they needed to find some warmer clothes, especially for Irmis. The starlings happily shared berries, nuts, and grubs with them, but they would need more to sustain them on their long journey. As much as Fledgling never wanted to witness another flame, she knew they would need a way to start a fire and cook meat. She prayed the spirits would send a trader their way, though what they could barter with, Fledgling had no clue. She couldn't part with Kitten's marble. About midday, the adrenaline of the previous evening wore off. Irmis needed to clean his wounds and put salve on them. Fledgling shifted her attention to the sky for the scouts she sent ahead of them. The starlings banked hard and flew at them. Too many spoke for Fledgling to discern what they said. She caught the words nest, food, keep, and going. She sighed and they pressed on, hoping the starlings were telling them some kind of dwelling was ahead, and that it would be safe. Another hour later, and a wood building came into view. Tiny figures moved outside. As they got closer, Fledgling called out. One of the figures waved his hand. "That's promising," Irmis said. Irmis helped her dismount. She then walked in front of the mare as they approached the farm. The man who waved walked closer to meet them. Noticing his hide pants and simple homespun shirt, Fledgling felt more comfortable. "Have some trouble, travelers?" "There was a fire," Fledgling's voice cracked. She tried to wet her mouth before continuing. "Our home is gone. We don't have much, but we'd like to trade." The man crossed his arms and nodded toward Irmis. "And his face?" "We just need a few things," Fledgling pleaded. "We won't stay." A younger version of the man joined them. Fledgling took a step back. The mare put her head down, preventing Fledgling from going further. The warmth of the mare bolstered her courage. "Pa, stop. You know you're going to let them stay." The young man smiled at Fledgling. "He's more scared of offending his Stenny than he is of losing his own life." The older man dropped his arms and grinned. "Come on, you two. Let's see what we can do to help." The man's son took their horse, making sure she had water and more than just grass to eat. Fledgling and Irmis followed the man into the one-room cabin. Piled up in one corner was the men's bedding. Another corner stored their food, and another their tools. When the son entered, he handed Irmis a wet rag to clean his face, while the father put some food on a couple of plates. "We've lost everything," Fledgling thought, the realization like a slap to her face. Fledgling wailed. Their host stopped and gawked, unsure what they should do. Irmis finished wiping his face and tossed the rag at her, smacking her in the side of the head. Fledgling stopped, picked up the rag from the floor, and wiped her eyes and nose. "I'm sorry," she sniffled and swept her hand around the room. "This reminds me of home." The son took the rag from her. "Grieving is natural. It's easier when you have someone beside you." His eyes followed his father as the man gave Irmis a plate of food. They ate, then slept. Fledgling curled up inside the protective embrace of Irmis. The next morning, Fledgling rose before the others. She spoke with the mare, who was agreeable to staying at the farm. Fledgling figured a horse was a fair trade for the supplies they would receive, and they seemed like they could use one to help on the farm. "You never told us your names," the son said as he handed a small knife to Fledgling. She tucked it into the waistband of her hide pants. "My brother's Irmis, and I'm Fledgling." "That doesn't sound like much of a name," the young man thought for a moment. "If you don't want to stick out, go by Gazine." "Gazine," Fledgling repeated. "It's odd to my tongue. What does it mean?" "Mystery," the man winked. So these settlers have to be wary obviously they don't want to invite trouble into their own home. So that's why they're not at first eager to take them in. Fledgling on her own may not be much of a threat, but considering what Irma's face probably looked like after his beating, um, they knew something had gone on. However, the father, being a devout follower of the god Isteni, um, kind of plays into them accepting the fledgling and Irmis. There's kind of two things at play here with that. Um, One, you never know when you might actually be entertaining one of Istani's firstborn, one of the Angeru. And then the teachings of Istani, they say that when you help those in need, you're also helping him. And then the part where fledgling all of a sudden just wails out of nowhere might seem a little odd, but we have to remember fledgling is only probably about 7 or 8, and she's just been through this big trauma. And of course, with the adrenaline, she hasn't had much time to process any of it, so this is the first chance that she gets. And then the end of this scene where fledgling gets her own name. Um, it's a name that is, for her, maybe a bit of a relief. It has nothing to do with her people or that weight that she bears on being the next Kana. Um, and this will actually be the name that you will hear for fledgling in my upcoming novel, Tarnished Relics. So that's all I have for this video. I believe we have one more, so I hope you'll go ahead and finish the book out with me. Thanks, and have a nice night.